junior year, I lived in a single room in Benson Hall, one of the smaller dorms on the west side of campus. The building was old. I mean, really old. The kind of place where the heaters bang for no reason, and the lights hum loud enough to make you think you're hearing whispers. Most people hated Benson, but I liked quiet, and it was the quietest building on campus. Or so I thought. What I didn't know was that my room, 317, had a history. No one told me until much later. About 3 weeks into the semester, I woke up around 3 a.m. to a sound that didn't make sense. Someone was breathing outside my door. Not snoring, not clearing their throat, just steady, slow breathing, loud enough to hear through the wood. At first, I thought I was half dreaming. I sat there, listening, holding my breath. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. It wasn't my imagination. Someone was standing right on the other side. I didn't get up. I didn't say anything. I just stared at the door and waited. Eventually, the breathing faded. I convinced myself someone had just been returning from the bathroom and stopped to catch their breath. Weird, but not impossible. The second night it happened, I wasn't so sure. This time, the breathing was closer, right up against the doorframe. I could hear faint throat sounds, that quiet clicking noise when someone swallows. I sat up again, heart pounding, staring at the door. After a few seconds, something tapped the door once, just once. A soft, deliberate tap right beneath the peephole. I froze. I waited. Nothing else. No breathing, no tapping. Just the hum of the hallway light. In the morning, I asked around. Nobody admitted to being up that late. Most of the guys on my floor kept their doors shut all night. I wanted to let it go, but the third night, things escalated. This time it wasn't breathing. It was whispering. I couldn't make out words, just a low voice murmuring right outside my door. Too soft to be clear, too rhythmic to be random noise. I crept toward the door, put my ear against it. The whispering stopped instantly. My skin crawled. I backed away, climbed into bed, and stayed awake until my 8 a.m. class. By the fourth night, I was on edge. I tried falling asleep to music, but even that didn't help. At exactly 3:09 a.m., I heard footsteps. Slow, uneven steps. Not the normal shuffle of someone heading to the bathroom. These steps paused every few seconds, like the person was stopping and turning. Then, a long fingernail dragged across my door. A faint, high scratch from the peephole down to the bottom. 10 seconds later came 3 soft knocks. Not fast, not panicked. Slow, measured, intentional. I forced myself to look through the peephole. Someone was standing there, a person in a dark hoodie, head lowered, hair long enough to hide their face. Their shoulders rose and fell in slow breaths. They didn't move, didn't fidget, just stood there, facing the crack beneath my door like they knew exactly where I was. After a minute, they stepped away. 1 step left, 1 step toward the stairs. Then silence. I didn't sleep at all. I needed proof I wasn't imagining things, so the next night, same time, same fear, I sat at my desk with the room dark, waiting. 2:50 a.m., 2:57, 3:03. At 3:12, the hallway light flickered, then went out completely. The entire corridor went dark. Footsteps began, soft, slow, getting closer. I didn't breathe. The steps stopped right outside my room. Then, "I know you're awake." The whisper came from inches behind the door. Calm, almost casual, like someone talking through a grin. I jumped back, knocking over my chair. "Open the door. the whisper continued, softer this time. Then the voice changed, like someone imitating speech without fully understanding it. O-pe-en the door. Then came a giggle. A short, breathy, wrong giggle. I grabbed my phone and called campus security, whispering for help. Outside, I heard the person lean closer against the wood. In a deeper, cracked voice, they whispered, "You're in my room." Footsteps moved away, slow, dragging steps heading toward the stairwell. 30 seconds later, campus security arrived. The hallway was empty. They checked every floor, every stairwell, every exit. Nobody. But when they inspected my door, the officer noticed something. On the wood, right above the handle, were 5 faint fingerprints, streaked downward like someone had been pressing their hand along the door. The prints were oily, smudged, fresh. I didn't sleep for 2 days. Housing moved me to another building after I insisted. They didn't argue, probably because my RA admitted that the room I'd been in, 317, had been empty the entire previous year. Apparently, the former student who lived there left mid-semester without telling anyone. They found the room abandoned, lights off, bed still made. The student never returned. A month after I moved out, I ran into one of the night janitors. He recognized me and said, "You used to live in 317, right?" "Yeah," I said. He hesitated, then told me something I wish he hadn't. "That room connects to the old service hallway behind the walls. We closed those passages years ago, but some of them never sealed right." I felt my skin crawl. I asked, "Do people get in through them?" He shook his head slowly. "I don't think people do. Sometimes, late at night in my apartment now, I still get that sensation, the one from Benson Hall. Like someone is standing right outside the door, breathing quietly, waiting for me to get close enough to hear it." I still think about my freshman roommate sometimes, usually late at night, usually when something makes a soft noise in my apartment, and I get that same cold feeling I had back then. I've never told the full story publicly because it still makes my stomach tighten just remembering it. But maybe putting it out there will finally get it off my chest. This happened in 2019, my first semester at a mid-sized college in Ohio. I was 18, stupidly optimistic, and more excited about my mini-fridge than I should have been. The weirdness started before we even exchanged names. I arrived early on move-in day. The dorm hallway smelled like hot dust from all the box fans plugged in behind half-open doors. I walked into my assigned room, beige walls, dark blue carpet, 2 identical beds pushed against opposite corners. Pretty standard. My roommate wasn't there yet, but I noticed something immediately. The blinds were shut tight, and every curtain edge had been taped to the wall with blue painter's tape. Like someone was trying to seal out all light, or seal in something else. I told myself someone probably just didn't like mornings. 2 hours later, while I was unpacking a Costco-sized box of granola bars, the door opened. A tall, pale guy stepped inside, dragging a single duffel bag that looked way too light for a semester's worth of stuff. He didn't smile or introduce himself, just stood there, breathing through his mouth, staring at me like I'd interrupted something. "Hey," I said, "I'm Evan." He blinked, then blinked again, then said, almost whispering, "Kyle." I stuck out my hand. He stared at it, then wiped his palm on his jeans and gave me one of the limpest handshakes I've ever received. I tried small talk, where he was from, what he was majoring in, but everything was either a monotone "yeah" or "I don't know yet." By dinner time, I already regretted not requesting a single room. That first night set the tone for everything that followed. We both went to bed early, around 10:30. Sometime in the night, I woke up to the sensation of being watched. At first, I thought I'd dreamed it, but then my eyes adjusted. Kyle was sitting upright on his bed, staring directly at me. Not moving, not blinking. I sat up fast. "Dude, are you okay?" No answer, just that same unblinking stare. After a few moments, he slowly turned his head away and lay down again. I barely slept. The next morning, I tried to shrug it off. Maybe he was anxious, maybe homesick. I told myself a lot of comforting lies those first few days. But Kyle made it impossible to pretend things were normal. He barely left the room. When he did, it was late at night, around 1 or 2 a.m., and he always returned within minutes. I'd wake up to the door clicking shut and see him drop onto his bed, fully dressed, staring at the ceiling. He didn't eat in front of me. Ever. The mini fridge always had the same single bottle of water. He never showered while I was awake, but the bathroom tile outside our room was always damp in the middle of the night. I started spending more time anywhere else, the lounge, library, even sitting outside in humid September weather, just to avoid going back. But eventually, I had to sleep. And that's when things got worse. 2 weeks in, I came back from a late-night study session. It was around 1 a.m., and the hallway was unusually quiet. When I reached our door, something felt off. There was a shadow under the door. 2 shadows. Feet. Completely still, like someone was standing right on the other side, waiting. I hesitated, gripping my keycard. After a long moment, the shadows shifted, and I heard someone, Kyle, whisper something. Just one word, too soft to understand. I backed away and didn't go in until the shadows disappeared. Inside, Kyle was sitting at his desk, back perfectly straight, staring at the blank wall above his monitor. No reaction when I entered. The next morning, while Kyle was out, rare enough that I noticed, I found my desk drawers partially open. My notebooks flipped through, orientation packet moved, even my deodorant was in a different spot. I shouldn't have brushed it off, but at 18, you want to believe people are harmless. The night everything escalated, I woke up at 3:40 a.m. The room was pitch black except for faint hallway light under the door. Outside, I heard soft shuffling. Not walking, not pacing, more like someone dragging their hands across the door. A click. Then another. Someone was testing the doorknob. My heart hammered. I sat up and looked across the room, but Kyle wasn't there. His bed was empty, bathroom dark, closet empty. A soft whisper came from the hall, then a gentle push against the door. I scrambled to the peephole. Kyle was standing outside, facing away from the door, head tilted down, body unnaturally still. Not touching the knob anymore, his hand hovered inches from it, trembling. He whispered again, louder. "No, not yet." The whispering stopped. The doorknob turned halfway, paused, turned back. Then Kyle walked slowly down the hall, dragging his hand along the wall. I didn't sleep. The next day, I went straight to the RA, a senior named Drew. I told him everything, the staring, the doorknob, the whispers. He looked alarmed. "Dude, you should have told me earlier. Kyle isn't even supposed to be back yet." I blinked. "What do you mean, back?" He explained that Kyle had taken a medical withdrawal 3 days before move-in. He wasn't cleared to live on campus. The housing system must not have updated yet, so my room assignment still listed him. "He shouldn't even have a key card," Drew said. My blood went cold. That night, 2 campus police officers and Drew came to the room. They knocked. No answer. They entered. The room was dark. Cold. Too cold. Kyle's bag, gone. His sheets, gone. The blue tape on the blinds peeled and left in strips on the floor. But the weirdest thing was the notebook on his desk. My notebook. Every page filled with shaky handwriting, repeating one sentence. He sees me now. Hundreds of times. Campus police searched the building and nearby woods. No sign of him. No camera footage of him entering the dorm. No record of a keycard being used. Kyle was just gone. They changed the locks. I got a new roommate the next week, a normal guy named Jordan, but the feeling never fully went away. I stayed in that room the rest of the year, but I never slept deeply again. Every soft hallway noise jolted me awake. Every whisper in the vents made my skin crawl. Campus police never found Kyle. His family wouldn't say where he'd gone. No one explained how he got into the dorm, or how he got a key, or why he chose me. I went to a mid-sized college in upstate New York, surrounded by miles of woods, trails, and little pockets of nature that students treated like their own private hangouts. Most people stuck to the main hiking paths. My friends and I, being idiots, preferred the ones that weren't on any map. There was one spot we especially liked, a little creek area behind an old maintenance road the school didn't use anymore. Kids called it Pine Hollow, though nobody knew who named it. It was quiet, hidden, and far enough from campus that campus security never bothered going there. It became our go-to place for late-night beers. The night everything happened was early October. Chilly, but not freezing, the kind of night where your breath fogs just a little, and fallen leaves smell damp and sweet. Me, my roommate Jack, and our buddy Miguel decided to head down to Pine Hollow with a six-pack and some leftover pizza slices stuffed in a plastic bag. I remember thinking it would be a quiet night, just us, a fire, and the sound of the creek. But almost as soon as we got there, I felt off. I couldn't explain it then, just this strange awareness that we weren't completely alone. We set up a small fire in a ring of rocks someone else had built weeks before. Jack cracked open a beer, handed me one, and tossed Miguel the bag of soggy pizza. It would have been a good time, except every few minutes one of us would jerk our head toward the woods, thinking we'd heard something. Twigs snapping, leaves crunching. Nothing close, but definitely something. It wasn't totally unusual. Pine Hollow was in the middle of forest. There were raccoons, deer, who knows what else. But this sounded heavier, more deliberate, like footsteps. Probably a deer, Miguel said the first time. Probably, Jack echoed, though he didn't sound convinced. We tried to ignore it, drank our beers, talked about nothing, classes, girls, stupid dorm drama. The fire crackled low, lighting the clearing in soft orange. Then, maybe 40 minutes in, we heard something that was definitely not a deer. A long, slow exhale, like someone letting out a breath. It came from the darkness behind Miguel. We all sat dead still. "What? What's that?" Miguel whispered. Before anyone answered, something else happened. Something small but terrifying. A smooth, round pebble rolled into the fire pit. Not dropped, thrown. And from the direction it came, too. Jack swore under his breath. "Dude, someone's messing with us." I wanted that to be true. Some upperclassmen screwing around, maybe. But the woods were pitch black. Our fire was the only light for hundreds of feet. Whoever was out there could see us clearly, and we couldn't see them at all. The thought made my skin crawl. "Let's just pack up," I said. "Seriously." Jack and Miguel nodded. We all stood, dusting off our jeans, stepping away from the fire. That's when we heard it again. Footsteps. Close this time. Slow. Deliberate. coming from between the trees, just outside the ring of firelight. Every instinct I had screamed, "Don't look." But of course we did. And when we did, we saw something move. A shape, human-sized, just standing there between two pines, as still as the tree trunks around it. No flashlight, no phone light, nothing. Just a dark figure standing in the dark. And then, even though the figure never moved, we heard footsteps circling us from behind. That's when panic kicked in. "Run," Jack said. "Run now." We bolted. No one said where to run. We all just instinctively took off toward the old maintenance trail about 200 yards away. The forest floor was uneven and covered in leaves, and the only light we had was whatever moon got through the branches. I could hear Miguel right behind me. Jack was ahead, crashing through brush like he was trying to break world records. My lungs burned, and at one point I nearly slipped on a patch of mud. Behind us, footsteps. Not running, following, steady. Like whoever it was didn't need to rush. Eventually, after what felt like forever but was probably less than a minute, we reached the cracked asphalt of the maintenance road. Jack stopped at the edge, bent over, hands on his knees, gasping. Miguel and I stumbled up beside him. And then we all turned back toward the woods. There was no one there, just darkness, deep and complete. But then, just inside the tree line, barely visible in the faint moonlight, someone stepped out. Not toward us, not even fully into the open, just enough so we could see the outline of a person. Tall, shoulders hunched slightly, head tilted. They didn't move after that, didn't chase us, didn't speak. But seeing them standing there like that, watching, was somehow worse. Whenever a car passed by on the distant campus road, its headlights briefly lit the treetops. And every time that happened, the figure stepped back into the shadows as if avoiding the light, then stepped forward again when the road went dark. Back and forth, almost rhythmic. Finally, after a few minutes of this unnerving dance, the figure slid backward into the woods completely. Gone. We didn't wait around to see if they'd return. We sprinted the rest of the way back to campus, 3 grown college guys, terrified and shaking, pacing our dorm hallway like little kids afraid of the dark. By the time we sat in Jack's room with the overhead lights on full blast, finishing the warm beers left over from the six-pack, we tried to laugh it off. We told ourselves it was probably a homeless guy, or some weird loner from the town trying to freak out students. We made excuses. But none of the excuses explained the way he moved, or the way he watched the light, or why he followed us without ever speeding up. The next morning, everything felt surreal, like we'd all imagined it. People were outside tossing frisbees, studying on benches, living completely normal lives, while we walked around feeling like prey that had escaped something's hunting range. We skipped class and went back to Pine Hollow in daylight, partly to reassure ourselves that it wasn't as creepy as it felt at night. The clearing looked normal. The fire ring was still warm. Empty beer cans and Miguel's jacket, which he'd dropped during the run, lay on the ground. But there was something else there, too. Footprints. Deep ones. Human. Barefoot. Leading right up to where we'd been sitting. And another set circling the clearing. Then heading back into the woods. We didn't touch anything, didn't stay long. We just stared at those prints, chills running up our spines despite the afternoon sun. We never went back to Pine Hollow after that. Even now, years later, I can't step into dense woods without remembering that night. The steady footsteps, the pebble rolling into our fire, the shape in the trees watching us without moving. And worst of all, The way he acted like he knew the woods far better than we did. Like he'd been there long before us. I went to college in northern Indiana, at one of those campuses where everything interesting happened off school property. Official parties were lame, so students flocked to old rental houses just outside campus, usually the ones with sagging porches and Christmas lights still up in March. My sophomore year, my roommate Jay was big on making connections. He didn't care which fraternity he ended up in, he just wanted to be accepted somewhere. I wasn't trying to rush, but I'd go with him to parties so he didn't have to walk alone. Most were harmless. Loud, overcrowded, gross bathrooms, typical college chaos. But one November weekend, Jay dragged me to a place I'd never heard of. Lowell Street House. That night still messes with me. Lowell Street House wasn't like the usual frat-adjacent rentals. It sat by itself at the end of a long, cracked driveway behind a line of dead trees. No porch lights, no music spilling out, just a faint red glow coming from a basement window. When we got inside, I immediately realized something was off. It wasn't loud. It wasn't chaotic. It wasn't even normal. There were maybe 20 guys, all wearing dark shirts, spread around a living room that smelled like old carpet and stale beer. Nobody danced. Nobody laughed. They just stood in clusters talking quietly, watching people as they walked in. I tugged Jay's sleeve. "Dude, we should bounce." He grinned, already tipsy from pre-gaming. "Relax, it's exclusive, that's why it's quiet." But something about the silence felt wrong, manufactured. I should have insisted we leave. A guy in a gray flannel shirt approached us with a plastic pitcher of beer. He was tall, lanky, with a tired-looking face. Something about him made me uneasy. He never blinked while he talked. "You two new?" he asked. Jay eagerly nodded. "Heard this place is legit," flannel guy smiled. "Too wide. You should check out the basement. Everyone's heading down soon." Basement? I immediately said, "We're good up here." But Jay, of course, said, "Sure, man, lead the way." Before I could protest, flannel guy handed us each a red cup filled nearly to the brim. "It helps with the vibe," he said. I pretended to sip. Jay chugged half his. Flannel guy smirked. "Basement opens in a few minutes." As he walked away, Jay leaned toward me, slurring slightly. "Dude, relax. This isn't a sketch. It's just low-key." But I watched the room. Everyone who'd been talking in little circles slowly drifted toward the door to the basement. No excitement, no drunk yelling. Just movement. Organized. Like they all knew the schedule. Jay took another sip. His eyelids sagged a little. "You good?" I asked. "Yeah," he said, rubbing his forehead. "Just dizzy." I grabbed his cup. "You're done, seriously." The second I took it from him, a guy sitting on the couch looked directly at us. Not in confusion, not in annoyance, like he was watching for exactly that. My stomach dropped. A few minutes later, flannel guy appeared again and said to the room, "It's open." People started descending the basement stairs in single file. Jay swayed and said, "Let's go." I put my hand on his shoulder. "No, something's wrong here. We're leaving." He blinked slowly. "Dude, stop overthinking." He took a step toward the basement. I grabbed him hard. "No, we're out." That's when flannel guy reappeared, silently, right behind us. "You two coming?" His smile was gone, his face blank. Jay tried to answer, but I cut in. "Nah, heading out." The guy stared at us like he was trying to calculate something. Finally, he said, "All right, door's that way." His tone wasn't annoyed, wasn't friendly either, just neutral. too neutral. The kind of neutral that hides intention. We turned toward the exit. Jay stumbled but kept walking with my support. I didn't look back. As soon as we stepped outside, the cold air hit us, sharp and metallic. The yard was dead silent. No music, no voices, not even cars from the nearby street. I kept an arm around Jay as we walked down the long driveway. Halfway down, I heard a door open behind us. I turned my head slightly, not fully, and saw two figures step onto the porch. Then a third, then a fourth, all just standing there, watching us. No talking, no movement, just watching. I hurried us along. "Come on, Jay, stay awake," he mumbled something, barely conscious. His legs felt like they were turning to rubber. I looked back again. They were closer now. Not running, not rushing, just walking. Steady, deliberate steps toward us. I swore under my breath and lifted Jay's arm over my shoulder, practically dragging him. "Jay, stay with me. Seriously." He groaned softly, but didn't lift his head. The fourth time I looked back, I nearly froze. They had split up. Two coming down the driveway, and two cutting across the dead patch of grass beside it, closing the distance faster than before. I felt my pulse hammering in my ears. We reached the street, the dim sidewalk lit by a single flickering lamp. I pulled Jay toward campus. Behind us, the footsteps stopped. I turned. The four figures stood at the end of the driveway, just before the sidewalk, like they'd reached an invisible boundary they wouldn't cross. The tallest one tilted his head slightly, as if studying us. Flannel Guy stepped forward, to the edge, and called out in the most unnervingly calm voice, "Hey." I didn't respond. I didn't breathe. Then he said, "You should have come downstairs." His tone wasn't threatening, it was disappointed. I yanked Jay and practically ran the rest of the way back to campus. I didn't look back again. Jay threw up in our bathroom and collapsed on his bed. The next morning, he remembered nothing past the kitchen, didn't even recall leaving the house. I told him everything. He didn't believe me, not until he checked his phone. 6 missed calls from unknown numbers, 3 voicemails of silence, 1 voicemail of breathing, slow, steady, intentional. He blocked the numbers immediately. We never went near Lowell Street again. A week later, someone said the house had been shut down, though nobody explained why or by whom. Every time we walked past that general area, even during the day, I'd get this crawling sensation between my shoulder blades, like someone was standing behind me just out of sight. And Jay? He never rushed another fraternity. Sometimes, late at night, he'd say, "You really think something was waiting in that basement?" I don't answer, because the truth is, I don't want to know what we almost walked into. What I do know is this: we were not supposed to leave that house, and whatever was in that basement, they were angry we didn't go down there. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed stories, subscribe and comment this video. We share new stories every week.